Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday and welcome to Wednesday Live Coffee Talk. I'm Michelle Quay. I am a confidence coach and I am helping women to bring out their shine. And today is a guest on my show, and she is the perfect example of what it means to be speaking and shiny for your business, in your business, and in your personal life. So I am super excited because today I have Janis Isaman, the founder of Body Couture, who helps people to feel better in their body. And let's face it, after pandemic, I think we all look into the mirror having a little feelings or a lot of feelings about our bodies. So she is a perfect person to bring onto the show today and talk about how do we build that. How do we feel better about our body? And like most business owners today, she sees clients online and also in person, and her specialty is helping people rid themselves of pain. She's highly certified in both fitness and nutrition modality and has been quoted as a lifestyle expert in Reader's Digest, prevention, and women's health. But she's not just a textbook full of knowledge and certification. She's also a real person, and you will love her personality. I had an interview with her during the last year during the pandemic. She's just so lovely to talk to, so I can't wait to bring her on. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest and bring her on to the show.
Hello.
Hi, Janis. It's been a year since I last saw you?
It's been a while, yes.
That's crazy. I can't believe it's been a year since this pandemic.
I know. I love that you opened with talking about being shinier because I decided to wear my shiny shirt for you today to just be shiny.
Yeah, I truly believe the universe has its way of putting things together. So this is actually perfect. Yay.
Yeah.
So Janis, tell us about yourself.
So as you mentioned in that great intro, I'm the founder of My Body Couture. My job is to help people feel better in their bodies. And I stumbled on that because I had an incident with my knee. I was actually quite young. I was just a teenager and I started running and my body felt terrible. So I was doing an activity that I had been told was going to make me feel great, was going to make me look great, was going to actually really enhance my life. And what I found instead was that I ended up injured and in pain. And this set off a lifelong passion in figuring out a solution, figuring out how I could actually feel great in my body. That was quite a number of years ago. And I can tell you that as I have aged, the philosophies and techniques that I have stumbled upon and that I now teach to clients have really benefited my body. So I live in a body that mostly feels comfortable most of the time. I don't have age-related aches and pains. And I love what I do because I'm able to help people really feel vibrant, feel passionate. And most people's hobbies and favorite interests are not going to the gym. They're not necessarily physical activities. So I'm really helping people to enhance their life and to get on with those hobbies that do light them up and do make them feel excited and shiny.
So I can only imagine when you first had the knee injury, what that felt like, right? And I think what comes out for me is once you start having that limited mobility, initially, I'm sure it wasn't just the pain that you were experiencing. It was little tiny signs you start picking up. What were some of the signs?
Well, it was just really frustrating because I was, as I said, I was a teenager. And what I noticed was that I would go for a run and then it would actually hurt to walk up and down stairs. And then I would go for a run again because, no pain, no gain. And then it would start to hurt when I was just sitting at my desk. I was a student at the time in university, so it would start to hurt when I was studying. And I would overlook that and I would go for a run. And then eventually it started hurting all the time. And so that's when I really started to take action. But I went to a sports doctor and I went to a chiropractor and I went to a massage therapist. I went to a rolfer. I went to all different kinds of specialists and nobody could actually figure out what was wrong. And the kind of client that I love to work with today is that exact client where they have been to other practitioners, been to other specialists, and maybe there isn't something kind of overtly wrong. There's nothing torn. There's nothing injured in a traditional sense. And all of those other practical solutions are actually super helpful, but A, they rely on a practitioner, and B, when we go back to our activity, we go back to our life, we find that that pain cycle comes back. So that's not really in a position where we actually have agency over our body. We then rely on practitioners, and we then spend a ton of energy and time and space trying to fix this problem because it's not comfortable to study. It's not comfortable to walk up and down stairs. It's not comfortable to do our hobbies. So those are kind of signals and signs that it's time to take some action.
As you're describing it, it totally reminded me of a conversation I had yesterday with a colleague of mine. He's 6'2", 6 feet 2 inches tall, really tall guy, and he's been complaining about back pain, and he couldn't not figure out. He went to chiropractor, he went to physical therapist, he's been taking meds, doing physical activities, but nothing seemed to address the back pain. And that back pain is just very debilitating. Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, it is very debilitating. I mean, back pain is actually quite complex, and there's 4 or 5 different kind of pathways that it can take because it's linked to the upper body, it's linked to the lower body. But most of the time, just like in my scenario that I had described about running, believe it or not, the pain often, especially when we're talking about a scenario like you just described, where we've gone to those practitioners and we've sought help already and we can't find anything wrong on an MRI, the pain actually isn't where we feel it. So that's a little bit tricky to actually really embody, but we feel it in our back, or in my case, I felt it in my knee. The problem was actually at my hip. It wasn't at my knee. So the more I tried to fix my knee, the less it actually helped, because I actually needed to get up into the glute. I needed to stretch my glutes. I needed to strengthen my glutes. And quite often that's the case with back pain too. It could be something in the upper body. It could be something in the hip. But if we've actually done kind of our traditional pathways, it likely actually isn't where we feel the pain. So it's more of a systemic approach that I'm taking to clients, where we look at that whole body. I've seen people who have back pain because of something in their feet or because of something in their hands. So we're looking in the wrong spot sometimes. And that is one of my big tips, is that if you have actually already walked down that path and you've tried to solve it and it's not working, look somewhere else and look somewhere unexpected.
That is very interesting. And I keep it keep reminding me, like right now we're talking, it surfaced a lot of my pain, body pain kind of surface. Where else do I have pain? I have pain on my shoulder for sure, because I use crutches all the time. And so it's like pushing down a lot of pressure on my shoulder, especially on the back. So I'm like, as we're talking about this topic, I'm thinking to myself, where else do I have pain? And I think pain is something that really a big trigger for a lot of people wanting to change.
It is. It tends to be the trigger, because we kind of have 2 triggers for changing our body. One tends to be aesthetic and one tends to be comfort. And when I talk about pain, I'm really talking about those age-related or use-related aches, pains, pops, kind of creakiness, something that just feels off. It's a little bit different. I don't tend to work with people with what I call impact injuries, which is where you might have fallen when you're skiing or you got hit by a car. I have definitely had those clients, but that's a different kind of pain because we know what the source is. When we're just talking about that stuff, when you wake up and you're like, ooh, it just feels bad, and you don't necessarily know where it came from. Or I get lots of people who come to me and say, 20 years ago, I had some kind of accident, and my shoulder still hurts. That means we now have to look at the whole system of the body. So we tend to think about our body as, parts, like a car part, but it's not really how it works. I guess cars don't even work that way. If I took out something of the engine of a car, the whole thing would kind of get impacted, right? And so we're often looking, it's at the shoulder. Let's roll the shoulder out. Let's strengthen the shoulder. Yes, that's definitely part of it. But let's also look at how the shoulder's impacting the whole body. And pain is going to be a signal that your body's giving you. That's why you get pain, because your body's saying, hey, we have something here that is needing attention. It's the same way that you get those clunks and noises in a car. That's for a reason. So we want our pain to go away, but the way that we get rid of that pain isn't just to overlook it, shut it out, medicate it out, or kind of wish it away. It's actually to look at what our body is telling us, because we need to address something in that. That's why we have the pain.
I think what surfaced for me is the love for our body. If we think about our body as the vehicle that we do in this world, then how do we take care of that body, right? So your body needs some love. How do you show your body the love that it deserves?
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk to my clients about this all the time, but at the end of it, most of us don't have our number one personal passion as health and fitness and wellness. Mm-hmm. And evidence shows this, because only something like 15% of people have a gym membership. And of that percentage, a very low percentage of people actually go. So most of us feel passionate about our business or our family or creativity or going out for drinks and socializing. Those are our life passions. But what we forget is that nobody can maintain this body for us. That's just a fundamental. No one can eat for us. No one can exercise for us. Nobody can actually do any of that body maintenance. And number two, that all of our senses are in our body. So everything we feel, everything we hear, everything we see, everything we taste or touch, that's coming in through the body. And that's how we interpret the entirety of our human experience. So if our body is in pain, it's going to impact our thoughts. If our body isn't functioning, it's going to impact what we can do. I have clients who come to me and say, I just want to garden. Well, if their back hurts and they can't bend over, there goes that hobby. You're not able to experience that passion and that joy. So if we kind of reframe this body work into something that actually is a vehicle for experiencing that shiny life and experiencing our hobbies, it takes it away from being a fitness discipline where we're going to the gym and we're on the treadmill for an hour, and into really a portal for living this amazing, connected, authentic life. And I think that it often doesn't take as much time to maintain our body as we kind of fear it might, because it's been banged into us by the fitness industry that it takes an hour on the treadmill or 60 minutes in a yoga class. But if we really think towards body sustainability, that is a whole reframe on how we can actually look at our body and why we're actually doing this.
I love it, and I'm just looking at the comments that people are leaving. We have JJ say, "Oh my God, I've listened for 2 minutes and massive perspective shift." Damn, lady. I think the reason this is the case is because we're sitting with a lot of these pain, and we don't realize how often these are really just signs to let us know that, hey, give your body some juice to go there.
Yeah, most of us instead are really annoyed, and we want it to just kind of go away, and we go and we look for whoever and whatever can take it away. But at the end of it, if we actually look at that in a totally different way and we say, hey, that's information. We're not usually upset when we're hungry. We're not upset and mad when we are thirsty. We just handle those. We know that we need food. We know that we need water. Pain in the body, exactly the same. It's just a signal from our body that nature gave us to juice.
Give our body some juice.
Give the body some juice. That's what we need.
It's like a 3-year-old nagging at ourselves, right? Because I'm sitting there, and this is what I'm experiencing a lot of time, as I'm aging. I notice that every time I sit down, there's a lot of pressure sitting on my back, and it's holding up, and it shows up everywhere. And when I'm feeling pain, chances are I'm not very motivated to do anything at all. And there goes your business.
Yeah. So I am a human being. And in your introduction, you mentioned that. So I think that we often think that health practitioners somehow have this golden secret. And there is no golden secret. I actually have a rib that chronically dislocates. It's out right now and my back hurts. So part of the reason that happened is because of the last 2 months, I haven't been doing my body sustainability work. So, I reap what I sow as well. But I think that we really have to look at how that's impacting our life and why it's there. So I have no special secret that you don't have. The special secret is we have to do this work. And we have to do this work because we are human beings living on the planet Earth. So just by sitting here, you and I are both sitting up, and we have gravity pressing down on our head. That's just how it is. So there's research that shows that when astronauts go into space and they're hanging out, floating around up there for a while, they come back 3 inches taller. That sounds amazing to me right now, especially because my back hurts a little bit, because you traction that up. But we don't live on the moon. So that means that it is actually part of our human responsibility to fight those impacts of gravity. So I actually often call aging or sitting at our desk and working, it really is repetitive strain syndrome from gravity. And the human body was never, ever, 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 ever meant to sit in a chair and do our work in this forward position with our fingers. That's a totally modern construct. So if you think about humans way back, we spent 75 to 85% of our daily energy input, so our calorie input, just trying to find food. So we were basically moving around all day just trying to get berries and nuts and seeds and plants and meat and what have you to stay alive. That's not the case now. I can pick up my phone and have Costco groceries here within an hour.
And pandemic happened. So pandemic forces a lot of changes.
Totally. And so a lot of people are coming to me saying, these body pains are happening even more. And what I just described to you is actually me too, because I used to go to my office and I would get 16,000 steps a day just working with clients and going to the post office and going across the street to grab a coffee. And I thought nothing of it. And then the pandemic rolled around. I'm sitting here in my home. I do most of my sessions over Zoom. I walk 42 steps to the kitchen. And that's the entirety of my day. And so many of us are experiencing this repetitive strain syndrome from gravity, where we're just sitting here in this super compressed, condensed state. And we need to actually get that decompression, get that elongation, do these gentle movements, and not do more compression on our hips, not do more compression in our back. We need to open the body up and be like little astronauts.
Or we can just all move to the moon. And as you're describing that, I'm thinking I'm on the wrong planet.
Right? It's kind of true.
I need a lot more than just a couple of inches.
It's kind of true. Yeah, right? So we actually need to do stuff that helps us overcome those impacts of gravity, but overcomes the impact of sitting. So that was almost a year ago that I calculated, and it shocked me because almost none of us would say, oh, I'm sedentary. I've had only a couple of clients ever in 15 years of doing this say I'm sedentary. But most of us are like, oh yeah, I'm active. A couple times a week I go to yoga, or once a day I go to the gym and I do a class. I guess no one really goes to the gym right now, but we do Beachbody at home or whatever. But when you do the math, we have 24 hours in a day. We're supposed to be sleeping for 8. So that's leaving us with 16 hours. We're supposed to be taking 10,000 steps. Let's say that that's an hour and a half. So that takes us to 14 and a half hours. Where is the 14 and a half hours going if we're not generating steps? So some of us might be standing for a portion of that. So we can be generous and say, okay, give it an hour and a half or something like that, maybe even a couple hours. But that really puts most of us somewhere in that 10, 12, 14 hours a day where we're sitting. And so we're not self-identifying as being sedentary and sitting. Someone's saying, oh, I'm sedentary. But if we really kind of think about our life, are you sedentary? And if you are, then know that some of this your life is going to hurt at some point. You might get away with it until you're 35 or 45 or 55 or 65, but we're going to have those impacts of gravity. We have 22 muscles that cross the hip, and they're going to tighten up. They're going to seize up. And this isn't to kind of scare anybody. It's just the human body was not designed for that. So if you go back 100 years, my grandma's 98 years old. She's still alive. And I've often kind of compared, I know, right? I've compared my life to hers. And it's almost a hilarious comparison, because when my grandma went to school, she rode a horse. When my son goes to school, we take him to the car and I drop him off literally across the street. So she was riding a horse to get to school. My son is taking, 12 steps.
We need to get your son a horse too, a pony.
Yeah, exactly. My grandma wanted to socialize. The nearest neighbors lived a half mile away. So she would get on her clothing and walk down the road a half mile. When I want to socialize, I lean my body slightly, pull out my phone, and go on to Facebook, right? And so it's just 1,000 little ways every day in the last 100 years that we have lost those steps. We've lost that activity. Life is definitely more convenient. Life is more exciting in certain ways. You and I can have this conversation, and we're nowhere near each other geographically. But that sedentary lifestyle has snuck up on both of us, plus everybody else, without our knowledge, without our consent. And so working out once or twice a week isn't really going to overcome the fact that we actually have very limited movement in our life. So part of body sustainability is about movement and not about exercise.
I keep relating it back as you were talking about, am I active right now? Because I used to be very active. So I would go to the gym, do my workout, do my lifting, do all that. And so I actually eat twice as much than compared to what I'm eating now.
Yeah.
Versus now, because I'm not burning off as much, and I only do a little 45 minutes cardio at most, and that really doesn't burn as much, and because I'm not lifting anymore, my muscle is slowly fading away, so there's not much to burn my calories at all. And now I'm feeling the body aches as they're coming up.
Yeah. And so I encourage people to actually look for ways to incorporate movement into their life. So a year ago, when I sort of realized my steps had dropped from 16,000 to, without exaggerating, 1,600, I started looking for ways to actually be inefficient. So instead of driving to my office, which took 5 minutes, I would walk, because it's a half a mile. And so that round trip would take me 40 minutes instead of 10, but I could also move my body. I started looking for ways to do that in a multitude of areas where if I could actually be a little bit inefficient, but also get some steps in and also get some movement in, I signed up for it, because the idea where I'm sitting all day and trying to be efficient all day is very compelling to the North American modern mindset. But then we spend the rest of the day, all day, sitting. And that is not actually very efficient on our body. So the trade-off is essentially I get more efficiency out of a day, but then at some point I have to go to the chiropractor. I have to go get this rib checked into. I have to take care of certain elements of either my aesthetics or my function because I've been efficient in these other ways. So it's actually a complete shift in how we approach our day. Look for those little inefficiencies. Can you walk to the post office? Can you, I've heard that a million times in little ways, like, can you park the furthest away in a parking lot that you can? But those are actually super helpful little tips, because that efficiency is killing you.
So this is what my brother-in-law does. So he get a fancy car, and what he would do is, because he doesn't want any scratches on his car, so he intentionally parked it to the furthest lot ever possible so that he can walk.
Yeah, that's what my dad does too, actually. And I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's actually a good idea. And if you think about, if you're going to the mall, don't park right by the store you're going to. Just build in an extra 5-10 minutes and walk. And I think we really underestimate the value of walking. I mean, again, we're going to go back to my grandma. My grandma I have never asked her, but I doubt she's ever been on a treadmill. I doubt she's ever been on a spin bike. Like, if you told that to somebody who is her age, it's a ridiculous concept, because gyms really came about through bodybuilding culture in the 1960s. So prior to the 1960s, we didn't really have gyms as we know it. humans are evolutionarily thousands and thousands of years old. And until the 1960s, we didn't have this construct known as the gym. So although I actually am a fitness and wellness person, I'm really not pro gym. I feel like we need to get this education in our bodies. We need to learn how to sustain it. And we need to not actually, unless it's a true passion, get out of the gym, get movement into your life, make sure that your body's pain-free, and do these kind of sustainability exercises so that you can keep the whole thing going.
Helen on Facebook is saying, I embrace fire parking spot because it's exercise.
Yeah, it is exercise. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say right now I'm seeing a trend. A lot of people are running to get the Peloton.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I'm actually in favor of anything like that, where if we're going to use it, that's the keyword. If we're going to use it, then absolutely. I think tools have their place. I mean, I teach tools, I teach exercises. I think all of that stuff has their place. But just know that that piece of equipment isn't going to do the work for you. It's just not. I mean, we can buy celery and put it in the fridge, but if we never eat it, there's no benefit. And a lot of people do that with fitness equipment. Peloton has something really great because they're also offering instruction. So it isn't just kind of sitting in your home doing these boring exercises. But a lot of us kind of get sucked into the idea that if we just get that ab roller, or, you know, history's littered with cluttered, the Thigh Master, the, like, where did Billy Blanks go with his Tae Bo? You know, these trends kind of pass through because what happens is we want something to take away this responsibility. And there's nothing that can do it. But if you're going to use the Peloton, go get one and use it.
Yeah. Something I'm super proud, and this is my magical power, is I'm really good with ab roller.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I can actually do it without assistant. It's been a while though, so I gotta try it out.
Keep us posted.
I am not rolling my abs.
Keep us posted. I want to know how that goes, especially if you haven't done it for a while.
I know, right? and probably would help too with my back, my body posture, everything. And Helen said, I walk to the store, but it's too dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a reality for some of us too, is that we don't live in walkable neighborhoods. Actually, I live close to the city center, but there's nothing in our neighborhood. Literally, it's a residential neighborhood. It's 100 years old, and for whatever reason, we don't have little stores. There's no retail in this neighborhood, so it's a snooze and a half. And so what I actually did was, I actually love those little free libraries. It feels fun to me to go see what's in them. So I just created a little bit of a walking, it's not dangerous in my neighborhood, but it's boring. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to go on a little mission to see what's in the little free. So I just take little walks there and peek in the window, see if there's anything I want to leave or take. And that becomes a little bit of an adventure for me. And so I think that we have these ideas, but you really have to be in a place where you just adapt it. If walking to the store is dangerous, don't do it. If your neighborhood is boring, figure out a way to make it fun. Most of us live lives where we have to, we're doing stuff, we're accomplishing stuff. And so it might not, I never go to the mall. So I just gave you a tip to park far away from the mall. I never go to the mall. I don't like malls. I'm an independent boutique shopper. So take this kind of idea and really, and take the concepts, which is create movement, invent ways to be inefficient. And that could be hand washing your dishes. It could be sweeping the floor instead of vacuuming. It doesn't even need to actually be outside your house. It could be actually just making sure that, you know, I know people who set alarms on their workstation, and they take little breaks every hour or every 2 hours, and they just kind of go for a little cruise around their house, or they go throw a load of laundry in. The key is not in the specific advice. It's in the ideas and the mindset of, okay, we have to get more movement in. We have to actually stand up. Being vertical is key.
Being vertical while we're still alive, right?
Yes.
Make it a good thing. You're still vertical. Wait till you are horizontal.
Yeah, because none of us want to end up in a position where we're horizontal only. That's not the way.
No, let's stay vertical. All right, Janis, I would love to know where can people find you, and if they're interested in working with you, how do they?
My website is mybodycouture.com, and that's on your screen. So it's 3 words, my, M-Y, body, B-O-D-Y, couture, C-O-U-T-U-R-E.com. And that couture means customized. So what I really do is I build customized programs. So that Facebook comment that just came in was incredible, because that's what I help people do. I help give customized solutions to their specific lifestyle, their specific goals and desires, their specific body, their specific pain. And that's what we're doing. I saw a comment just now saying being vertical is key. Exactly. So if you want help staying vertical, you can check me out on my website. You can go to my Instagram page. I also have a Facebook page. So you can follow me on either of those, and you can also send me a direct message.
Yay, yay, yay. I mean, this is so fun. I feel like I can talk to you like whole entire day. It would be so much fun. And mind you, this is like our second time, right? Like meeting each other, and I'm just I'm learning so much about. You just reminded me after this call, I should get on and start walking. Stay vertical.
Stay vertical. Put that in your head.
Well, thank you so much for coming to the show, Janis. It's been a pleasure having you.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching the show. This is Live Wednesday Coffee Talk, where I invite guests to come and join me talk about the topic of love, courage, and connection. And hopefully today you would be in the right mindset to give your body a little bit more love so that you can have that body sustainability, like my guest had talked about. All the information about Janis will be available on the episode notes, and hopefully you will go and follow her. Don't forget. And also, if you haven't already done so, be sure to follow me, join my group, and come and check out all these amazing things and stories from all these amazing women who is using their personal magic to really shine. We want to shine, right? Yes. All right. Okay, go out there and start shining.